Welcome to Vetted Conversations, where we delve into the foundations, workings, and current challenges facing our American experiment. In today's confusing world, it's more important than ever to understand what keeps our nation strong and how we, as patriotic citizens, can actively participate.
Our mission is to ensure that you, the listener, gain the knowledge and insights alongside us, your veteran and military family member hosts, to become more informed and engaged citizens.
In a world of partisan noise, we lead with a bias of patriotism, cutting through the static with clarity, insight, and action. Join us as we learn together and help equip you with the tools to protect and preserve what matters most, our shared American ideals.
Hey everybody, this is Anil Nathan with Military 250 here on Radio Row in New Orleans, and I have the pleasure of being joined by legendary sports broadcaster Chris Myers. Chris, thank you so much for making the time to chat with us.
No, thank you. Always have time for our servicemen and women and the military, having had a little bit of that in my family, of course, and always in and around sports. So when the national anthem plays, you can't help but think of beyond your job responsibility at the time at a sporting event, but what our servicemen and servicewomen have done and are continuing to do for our country.
Absolutely. No, love that, and want to dig into your very storied family military history. We were just talking about it briefly before this, but maybe to start, what brings you to New Orleans this week? Obviously the game, but
right.
Do you have any other causes or things that you're here?
Yeah, as part of the preparation, a book I wrote, That Deserves a Wow, which we can talk about, encompassing a lot of wow moments in sports and with some great athletes who handled adversity and success, but also just a reminder for men, testosterone levels, and women too, but especially if you're having trouble with weight loss or your energy level, get your T levels checked, and we're not all created the same. And lowt.com, that's the place to go, or synergenics.com. They'll test it for you through your health care provider to make sure if you need to increase, decrease, or if you need it personalized. That's what they do. They've been doing it a long time. They customize it so you're getting the right amount and they make it easy for you. That's one of the things that I'm at least alerting people about.
Fantastic. No, really, really important message to get out there for everybody to pay attention to. Maybe actually, I would love to hear about the book and what the book's all about and how that came about.
Yeah, I was approached, I think, just because I've been at this a while. I started at 16 doing a sports radio show, and then local TV, and then a decade at ESPN and 20 plus years at Fox, and doing a number of things from interviews to calling games and covering Super Bowls and World Series. So I was approached about, hey, can you put it all together? You've interviewed everybody from Montana to Mahomes, from Bonds to Mike Trout, Elway, Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali, et cetera, et cetera. So it was a lot to put in there, but they wanted a little bit of my view of why we cover things and how we do the way we do. And there's some personal involvement in there, but there were some moments that were beyond sports, being at the World Series with the A's and Giants when the earthquake happened, and I had to report on that. The bombing at the Summer Olympics in Atlanta, reporting on that. So things shift a little bit, and I hope people are just, if they read it, it's obviously good for people in sports or broadcasting. I think they'll enjoy it. I did the audio book, but I think you'll relate to it in a number of different ways. So I hope they're moved by it, but most of all inspired, because I got to live the American dream as a kid that wanted to do this from the beginning, sports broadcasting, and have really enjoyed the ride with some really cool people along the way.
It's fantastic, and I can imagine, in some ways, the period of time that you just talked about in your career is covered in terms of sports. In some ways, this is a piece of American history, right? All those moments, both from the sporting side of things, but as well as the moments that occurred kind of adjacent to those big sporting events.
Yeah, and it's almost like, if you were using a movie reference for the book, it's almost like a little bit of Forrest Gump meets Almost Famous, the one about the young rock and roll journalists. You combine those with a sports mode, because I'm there to cover one thing and something. So sometimes right place, right time, or wrong place, if you want to look at it that way, at the right time to still report on it. And I address in there too a little bit of my upbringing, which has to do with my dad in the military, a little bit of how it influenced me to be able to do a job, or at least hang in there and work in a profession that I wanted.
Would love to talk about that upbringing and talk about your father's service, because pretty incredible stories. So would love to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, he was in the U.S. Navy. He joined, growing up during the Depression era, but joined after Pearl Harbor and wanted to make a difference to kind of wasn't honest about his age to get in, but in the Navy, worked in the engine room as a teenager, and on an LST. I think people in the military know of it, but they hit the shore during the Normandy invasion, among other responsibilities, and he lived through that and saw that, and at first would not talk about it a lot with the family. In our later years, he's since passed on, but was really proud of that time and always thought of the guys who didn't make it back. And when I took him to see the movie Saving Private Ryan, the beginning, that was so realistic, it really hit home with him. But he would go back for reunions every year. He went back for the 50th. Obviously, he's since passed on. We just had, I think, the 80th reunion, and the importance of that, and especially at a young age. So it made me grateful, and he instilled a lot of discipline and toughness in me growing up to make sure what I appreciate. Because here I am at 19 doing radio and talking about sports when he was out there along with so many others in that age range, doing things, fighting for freedom and protecting our country. So always a great. And when I do NASCAR, the pre-race show, we have a lot of military that come by, even if they're from overseas and they're visiting. We have them as guests, and we're always so grateful and appreciative because they and their families really do make sacrifices. So I'm glad you're celebrating the anniversary of this. It's important to not lose sight of that. And I think now we're at a point in our country where we're back to appreciating and taking care of those, and we should.
Yeah, well, I mean, you kind of referenced this, but I feel like it is when you think about the sacrifice that your father made, so many made at such a young age, for their country and for in a very, very turbulent time in the world, it does put things in perspective a little bit. You think about, what did I do when I was 18 years old or 19 years old? And
it's funny because he wasn't necessarily a big sports fan because of the way he grew up, and he would always tell me, hey, you should, sports is a luxury. You got to do your homework, get good grades, be aware of your civic responsibility, be aware of what's going on in the world. I said, Dad, I'm 10, can you run? But eventually, when I got into sports, he was like, he drove me to the radio station when I got my first job as a teenager, and so he saw that it was my passion, and I still consider those other things, they had to be very important along the way, but this was an outlet, and later he became, in his retirement years, a big sports fan too. So it's funny how things work out, but it's the right kind of approach to things.
No, well, that's fantastic. And as you mentioned, right, so our campaign, Military 250, which is, we're starting to spread the word because a lot of people don't know across this country. Next year is obviously the 250th birthday of the country, but a year before that, in 1775, was the original kind of formation of the Army, Navy, and Marine Corps. And so, we're using that celebration, the concept of honoring the service of your father, my father, so many others who have served their country before, as a platform to inspire a next generation to think about service, both in the way of military, right, of joining the military and kind of continuing that cycle, but also in smaller ways, just ways to engage in your community that help bring us together more as a country and really honor their service through your service. That's kind of the theme.
And we need a strong military. And some want to be in and make it a career for their life. Others, my dad served 4+ years and then went on and lived his life. But that impression that it made for him, he got something out of it too. Obviously, helps the country. But and I think our military helps so many people. Whether you want to go on and become a commercial pilot or you want to work in the boating industry or fishing industry, but you serve in the Navy. I think it's really. And in the meantime, do something that it was life-changing. I mean, that was my father, as difficult as it was, he called those some of the most, before he had a family, the most important molding years of his life. Instead of going to college, he served and learned to deal with people and difficult situations and structure, and so this is good because our military today, and I realize there's different generations and the world changes, but it's even more important. Now it's probably a little more about, you would know, technology than the actual boots on the ground, face-to-face, hand-to-hand combat type of thing. But whatever you can do and whatever your desire, it's a pathway, and it's an important contribution to all of us living the life we live.
No, yeah, very, very true words. Well, as you were thinking about your career and all the moments as you kind of captured in your book, are there any moments that you reflect on or that you kind of captured that had intersections with the military or veterans? I know there's so much connection between what Fox Sports does for veterans in the military on active duty, The NFL has been an incredible partner to us. Obviously, NASCAR, as you mentioned. So any of those moments that stick out to you?
There's a few. Roger Staubach, even before I got in his time as a great athlete and serving in the military. There are others who have made the sacrifice and put their sports career on hold to do serve our country. I would say nothing comes to mind necessarily other than just the structure. And I got a shout out to Fox, our network, because they go out of their way. We've had tours of military, with Camp Pendleton. We're in California, Southern California. So whenever any comes through, any branch of the service, or they want to come in and see our studios, and I've volunteered to do that a few times, where they've come by and watched our live show. And they're it's funny how they're like, wow, that's really amazing what you do and how that works. And I'm like, hey, we're amazed at what you do when things are on the line for our country. So, in the book, I talk a lot about, athletes who've been influenced by, if they haven't served themselves, by family members and a purpose of why they do things and how they are shaped the way they are to be loyal to their country and loyal to their profession.
100%. Well, I can speak from personal experience. When I was deployed in 2010 to Iraq, I think when we were transiting through Al Udeid Air Force Base in Qatar, Fox Sports had like a setup there essentially for broadcasting. Were you ever there?
I went. Yeah, they had me. We brought a NASCAR rep, and we flew out there to celebrate Thanksgiving and do a broadcast from there. My goodness, I'm trying to think of the year. It might have been 10 years ago or maybe more. And to see the setup and it was quite an experience, but very rewarding for me. It was the least I could do at any time I could do it. But they were so gracious, and to see the operation work and the people. I actually got to stay, I think, in one of the the general quarters, and even that wasn't that fancy. I got to be honest. You guys really do sacrifice. Even in the office. But yes, that was a great. I should have mentioned that. It was a great experience. I had Jeff Hammond with me, former crew chief on Fox broadcast, and we also had talked about. I think we sent our NFL crew over there too as well at different times. But it was worth the trip. It was not. It was not an imposition to me at all. I mean, it was a great experience.
Yeah. Well, that to us that is very much a form of service, right? Because it means a ton in many different ways to feel that connection to home and just see that people are willing to make the effort to come and
appreciate it. And thank you for your service. And I always, whether I'm sitting on a plane or I'm walking through and I see somebody who's, it's nice for them to hear that, because in their day-to-day commitment, they focus on and then they're not looking for credit or pat on the back.
Totally, yeah.
But everybody deserves an appreciation, especially when you're laying it on the line like you have and other people do.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for making the time to chat with us, and maybe just one more plug or information about your book, when it's coming out, and where people can find it.
And I've had the first interview with O.J. Simpson, the live interview after both of his trials.
Oh, wow.
I talk about that in the book. Anybody from Will Chamberlain to Kobe Bryant, some of the athletes I've interviewed. Mike Tyson almost beat me up when I asked him about. I was doing an interview at his house with he bit the ear off, and he kind of came at me, and thankfully somebody slowed him down, or he would have pummeled me. So the book is That Deserves a Wow. Chris Myers, Amazon. You can order it online, chrismyersports.com, or Barnes & Noble would have it. And I did the audiobook as well in my own voice. I tried to get Matthew to do it, but he was busy. So they said they had to settle for me doing it. But,
I feel like your voice is a good voice for recording audiobooks.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for mentioning that. I appreciate it.